Imagine a young man with barely a third-grade education attempting to write a 531-page book filled with complex theology, historical accuracy, and literary devices that scholars are still dissecting today. It sounds impossible, right? Yet, Joseph Smith, a poor farm boy with no formal training, did exactly that. Or did he? But here's the kicker. Joseph Smith couldn't even write a well-worded letter, according to his own wife, Emma. Yet in just 65 working days, he dictated the entire Book of Mormon without notes, manuscripts, or rewrites. Skeptics say he must have made it up. But what if he physically couldn't have? What if there was only one explanation? A miracle. To understand why this is so remarkable, let's break it down. Over 300 unique names in the Book of Mormon, many of which have Semitic or Egyptian origins. Hebrew poetic structures like chiasmus, which weren't even identified in biblical studies until over a century later. Complex storylines that intertwine across generations and civilizations without contradiction. Detailed battle tactics, legal systems, and monetary values that match historical patterns. These aren't things a frontier farm boy would have known in 1829. People who watched Joseph translate were stunned. Here's what they said. Emma Smith. Joseph could neither write nor dictate a coherent and well-worded letter, let alone dictate a book like the Book of Mormon. David Whitmer. Joseph could not have written the Book of Mormon if he had been the brightest man in the world. Even Martin Harris, skeptical early supporter, once tested Joseph by swapping the order of letters in a name while transcribing. Joseph stopped and said, "That's wrong. It needs to be corrected." Eyewitnesses described a miraculous process. Joseph did not have a manuscript books or notes. He looked into the Urim and Thummim, or a seer stone, and words appeared. He dictated word for word, spelling out difficult names until they were recorded exactly. If a scribe made a mistake, the words would not move forward until it was corrected. Think about that. If Joseph had been making things up, why would he dictate a book without drafts, without going back to fix storylines, and without contradictions? Some claim Joseph must have copied the Book of Mormon from another source. But let's examine that theory. 1. The Spalding manuscript theory. This theory suggests that Joseph plagiarized an unpublished novel by Solomon Spalding. However, when the actual manuscript was discovered in 1884, it bore no resemblance to the Book of Mormon, proving that claim false. 2. The view of the Hebrews theory. Some say Joseph borrowed ideas from this book by Ethan Smith, published in 1823. But the themes and structure are vastly different, and no evidence suggests Joseph even read the book. 3. Joseph's education and memory. Even if Joseph had read historical sources, could he have memorized and dictated an entire sacred text without notes, pauses, or revisions? Scholars who study oral dictation agree this would be nearly impossible. So how did he do it? Eyewitnesses say the words appeared before his eyes, word for word, until the scribe wrote them correctly. Now, here's the real question. If it was truly a fraud, why has no one in 200 years been able to recreate a book even remotely like it? You decide. Coincidence? Or a divine work of revelation? I know what it's like to be a skeptic. Before joining the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, I had plenty of doubts. I judged things without fully understanding them, but the more I studied, the more I realized that truth has a way of breaking through doubt if we let it. As a dyslexic convert, I've struggled with reading and writing my whole life. I know firsthand how hard it is to organize thoughts, let alone dictate an entire sacred text without notes or rewrites. That's why Joseph Smith's experience resonates so deeply with me. If it were simply a fabrication, it would have unraveled under scrutiny, but it hasn't. It stands strong, even after 200 years of attacks, questions, and debate. I can testify that the Book of Mormon is true not just because of its complexity or historical depth, but because of the way it has changed my heart. It has brought me closer to Jesus Christ. It has healed me, guided me, and given me peace I never thought possible. If you're watching this and you have doubts, that's okay. But I invite you to test it for yourself. Read it. Pray about it. Ask God if it's true. Because if He answered my prayers, He will answer yours too. Want to learn more about the translation process? Stick around for the next part, where we break down what scholars today are still discovering in the Book of Mormon.